This is Hazel the Hobgoblin. Like most of her kind, she lives at Goblin Hollow, a large overcrowded warren cobbled together over many generations. Space is growing tight. The linen closet she shares with her 3 brothers is simply not cutting it. Others might think she's peculiar, but she just wants some privacy, not to mention time away from her extended family. Goblins are currently suffering from one of the biggest housing challenges in both the fictional and non-fictional world. We're running out of space. And it doesn't help that inflation's driven up the price of turnips. 37 gold for a pack of 6? Come on. This is why I wanted to help her out and make her a new home. We're going to be starting this build by opening up a Christmas present from my friend Neil, or Real Terrain Hobbies as some of you may know him. He's been a huge inspiration for me, so this kit is a joy for me to crack into. Like a hobgoblin cracking into a freshly baked turnip pie. Other than an absolute cornucopia of crafting supplies, the box comes with this cute laser cut kit for a medieval blacksmith, which we're going to be using as the base for our cottage. All the pieces go together simple enough, but we're mostly going to ignore the written instructions. I'm going to close up this window facade here, for example, and do something a bit different with the midsection. All the various great plastic decoration bits you see were all modeled by me and printed on a new FDM printer from Elegoo. They've been busy at work over there, and they've managed to cram every 3D printing advancement, including mesh bed leveling, synchronized dual Z-axis rods, and direct drive extrusion, all into a huge build volume with the Neptune 3 Plus, as well as the gargantuan and aptly named Neptune 3 Max. Just check out the build plate on this thing. I could 3D print whole sections of my Gothic Cathedral video on it without breaking a sweat. This stone brick archway from my D&D modular terrain kit makes for a great side entrance here. I considered adding in doors, but it's going to obscure too much of the interior. You see, Hazel wants to have lots of light coming from the fireplace, bathing the interior of the cottage with a nice warm glow. Let's glue up the last of these pieces together so we can move forward. Included in Neil's terrain kit is about $500 worth of balsa wood. I have no idea how he's making a profit on this thing, to be honest. We'll be using this rare commodity to add some exposed joist details to the whole building, like so. On second thought, let's be a bit more economical here. The internal part of this building isn't going to be visible. Can use those balsa strips somewhere else. I really enjoyed how the kit had this half-open door, so let's detail it a bit. No, we're not going to be using balsa wood. Are you crazy? Instead, I take some engraved EVA strips left over from a previous project to quickly add some wooden character to the door. To give this whole thing a sturdy base, I've got an off-cut piece of thin plywood we can scavenge here. Just need to mark out the rough outline of the building and break out the trusty jigsaw here. We're also going to need some lights later on, so I take this opportunity to cut a hole for the battery compartment too. We're going to need a switch as well, so let's drill one out on the back side here. It's not too obvious, unlike that wart on Cousin Knuckle-Rot's nose. After adding brick details to the fireplace, I run my wires through to connect the battery, switch, and eventual light sources, which are those filament noodle things I stole from Boylai Hobby Time. There we go, the interior is starting to come together. Let's give some consideration to the exterior too. If you're not from Ireland, this is called cork. Cutting it up lets us make some interesting looking bricks. And don't worry, this will all get painted and textured later. With this mix of plaster and black gesso, I smear it as a sort of mortar between the bricks, making sure to dab off any excess with a damp foam brush. delicious. Can't forget about that base. It's going to need a generous helping of goop as well. For this goop, we're going to use Fast Mache from Neil's kit. I'm guessing it's like paper mache, but faster. I make sure to squish this down with my hands, as well as this fancy red spatula, and then cover everything in coconut fibers to enhance the texture. The plaster on the cottage is mostly dry now. Take a look at that. And take a look at this. I'm scratching up the exposed plywood here to imply floorboards. Let's also add a little valued rug in the middle of the room.
Yeah, man, it really tied the room together.
Next, we're going to dirty up the sides of the room. That's where dust and grime likes to gather most of the time. And finally, after adding so much grime, let's clean up a little with a paper towel. Perfect. Since the messy part is mostly done, let's add those LEDs now. Quick test. To diffuse that light a little bit, I add in some cotton puff balls. Just enough so we don't see the filament itself. Now, over to the 50-watt CO2 laser from GYK Cloud, I cut off a sheet of my own shingled sign to augment and enhance the stuff that came in the kit. I did this mostly for added variety. This stuff in Neil's kit is absolutely fantastic as is. Shingles go down easily once cut. Just lay a bead of tacky glue and lay a strip of shingles, rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. With the magic of editing, the whole roof is done. Well, almost. We need to add some toppers to the very tip-top section, so water doesn't leak through. I cut out some thin cardstock for these, pre-bent at 90-degree angles. I've also got some 3D printed furniture here we can add as interior details, as well as some boxes and barrels. This will be hidden away in various nooks and crannies a bit later. I think it's time we add the rest of the timbers as well. This is a mixture of basswood, popsicle sticks, and other various wood bits in my wood bin. The treasure trove of balsa wood also gets put to use here, lining every section that could use a bit of rustic detail. Balsa wood cuts and marks so easily, it's a joy to work with. But you know what else brings me joy? All the lovely patrons and YouTube channel members. These types of videos likely wouldn't be made without your help. For joining, you get access to my full STL library, by the way, including all the files that you've seen in this video so far. You can get links to all the things I've uploaded from the moment you join. Now, I had a long discussion with Hazel on the color of the roof here. She tried to describe the perfect hue of gray to me, but we kept bouncing around the different shades and she just threw up her hands and said, whatever, paint it blue or something. So that's what I did. Using the various hues of gray as an undercoat, I spray painted this translucent blue on top. Hazel and her family were looking a bit pale themselves, so I took this opportunity to paint them in some iconic goblin colors. The brothers are various free STLs I found on My Mini Factory, but Hazel herself is an original sculpt by yours truly. She's now also available for free on My Mini Factory, so go check it out with the link down below. We should start a movement. Hashtag Goblin Free February. I think that has a nice ring to it. Anyways, here I'm adding some muddy looking plaster goop to the base to blend the transition between the building and the base. Don't confuse the delicious looking porridge for food, however, it's highly non-edible. Now this is a neat product I found in Neil's kit. It's a gel stain for wooden surfaces. With this we should be able to get a nice stained wood look on all that balsa. Oh, this is nice. I like this very much. But not as much as I like dry brushing. Dry brushing. Oops. Can't forget this little part here. And those bricks over there. Now you can see me throwing some colored sawdust here. And fun fact, before Baron DeRop had a YouTube channel, he was a full-time flock wholesaler. I still have a few kilos of his sawdust flock in my greenery bin that I need to use up. We're going to be using layers for various colors to get a realistic effect here. We season with a little pepper over here, some mossy garnish on the roof, a few choice logs decorating the side, drizzled in a PVA glue vinaigrette. And yeah, Hazel is ready to move into... What are we building again? Cottage, that's right. But as Hazel was ready to move in, something fell off. There was all this space for her to enjoy and relax. No mean cousins to steal her socks or eat her turnip cream when she wasn't looking. But maybe that's just the thing. Hazel feels lonely here. So she decided that as nice as the cottage was, she would go back and live with her family after all. Well then, if Hazel doesn't need the cottage, how about one of you out there? Yeah, I'm talking to you watching the video. If you want this miniature goblin cottage, I could send it to you. I'll be picking a random person down in the comment section who tells me their most interesting goblin or hobgoblin fact. I'll be sending you this little cottage free of charge. I'll see you on the next one.